An influential and polarizing figure throughout his entire career, the multidisciplinary artist Virgil Abloh left us far too soon. Abloh passed away on November 28, 2021, following a private 2-year battle with a rare form of cardiac cancer. His sudden death was a shock not only to the sneaker industry, but to the larger fashion community and pop culture as a whole. Here was a man who graduated with an undergraduate in civil engineering and then a master's in architecture, only to go on and build a fashion empire. His unique designs, which often nodded to art and fashion history, combined with his ironic sense of humor and deep knowledge of music, helped mold Virgil Abloh into the genius that we'll all remember him as. Abloh's first brand, Pyrex Vision, started out by selling Ralph Lauren flannels he bought at wholesale and then screen printed his own logo on it and sold them for hundreds of dollars. Pyrex Vision was the blueprint for future Abloh projects, as it was an excellent example of his infamous 3% rule. A theory of his that states that if you can change a design by at least 3%, you can turn it into something new. Here's a great quote from former High Snobiety editorial director Gian De Leon. "It's highly possible Pyrex simply bought a bunch of rugby flannels, slapped Pyrex 23 on the back, and resold them for an astonishing markup of about 700%. De Leon and Abloh would become friends in the industry, with Virgil eventually printing the quote on a rug in his studio, bringing everything together full circle in classic ironic Abloh fashion. Virgil Abloh wore many hats throughout his career. He became head of Kanye West's creative agency Donda. He founded the aforementioned Pyrex in 2012, and then the following year in 2013, he started Off-White. He was also Louis Vuitton's creative director of menswear from March 2018 until his death earlier this year. But while Virgil Abloh released an immense body of work, it was arguably his 2017 partnership with Nike and Jordan brand that really turned Off-White and Virgil Abloh into a household name in the industry. Today, we'll be looking at just one fragment of Virgil Abloh's story, the one he told through footwear. Before we get into his sneaker designs, a quick shout out to SoulSavvy for sponsoring this video. SoulSavvy is a membership-based community of like-minded sneaker enthusiasts, but it's also much more than that. Within SoulSavvy, you get access to the resources and tools necessary to cop sneakers for retail in today's hype climate. Copping a pair of sneakers can be incredibly frustrating and challenging, and that's why staying informed on how to actually buy sneakers in today's day and age is super important. Members get access to tools like their brand new Chrome plugin SoulSavvy Assist, which automates the checkout process when copying a pair of sneakers online. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Sounds like a bot, right? Actually, bots are actually really complicated to use. SoulSavvy has simplified this process. Essentially, they've taken all the best parts of a bot and made them ethical and accessible to the everyday sneakerhead like you and I. So the next time you're looking to cop a pair of sneakers for retail, give yourself a real at-bat by joining SoulSavvy using the link in our description. Thanks, SoulSavvy. Alright guys, back to the video. In August of 2017, Nike and Off-White announced their official partnership with the 10, a collection of 10 silhouettes from the larger Nike, Jordan, and Converse family. These 10 shoes were split into 2 categories, revealing or ghosting, with 5 silhouettes each. The revealing shoes were meant to show off a deconstructed look, and were comprised of an Air Jordan 1 High, a Nike Air Max 90, Nike Air Presto, a Nike Air Vapor Max, and a Nike Blazer Mid. As for the ghosting category, that was defined by its translucent materials throughout the shoes, and was made up of a Nike Zoomfly SP, an Air Force 1 Low, a React Hyperdunk, an Air Max 97, and a pair of high-top Chuck Taylors. While there would eventually be some questionable releases throughout their 4-year relationship, we cannot overstate how significant the original The 10 collection was to fashion as a whole. These shoes were teased non-stop for months on end before their eventual release, and they would go on to arguably become the release that pushed sneaker culture into the modern day mainstream. Damn, if I had to choose a favorite from the 10 collection, it would definitely be the Presto. I feel like he really did the silhouette justice with the toe box. He really improved the shape, and it's just a dope design overall, and if I ever get rich, I'm definitely going to buy a pair. It's definitely a grail. But I'm curious to know what's your favorite from the 10 collection. Leave it in the comments below, and also if you're enjoying this video, please hit us with a like. It would really help us out. Alright guys, Back to the video. After the initial launch of the 10, Nike would release new colorways of almost every silhouette in the pack over the next 2 years. First off, there were 2 new Vapor Maxes, available in triple black and triple white. To commemorate the 2018 FIFA World Cup, 2 soccer-inspired Flyknit Mercurial Zoom Flies also dropped alongside the Mercurial Vapor 360 cleats. And now for my fave, the Air Presto. That was the next shoe to get the special treatment. Arriving in black and white colorways, similar to the Vapor Max 2.0s, the Prestos are by far my favorite out of his entire body of work. As I talked about a second ago, the shape of the shoe was improved to my liking and the dystopian look is just timeless. Probably my least favorite of his work are the 3 Halloween inspired shoes he dropped with the Blazer Mid Spooky Pack and the Converse Chuck Taylor. An iridescent silver Air Max 97 and a black and white version dropped later in October with no relation to the previously released Halloween themed kicks. This was followed up by a particularly rare release, even by Off-White standards, the commemorative Serena Williams pack, which celebrated both the Queen of Tennis and the 50th anniversary of the US Open tournament. Personally, I love this pack. I think the purple gradients and silver is brilliant and he did an amazing job with these. To mark the end of the official The 10 collection, Nike and Off-White dropped 2 all black and pink Zoom Flies. While lately it seems like new Nike Dunk colorways are getting dropped every day, Off-White got first dibs on a trio of classic 2-tone colorways. Virgil remixed the collegiate-inspired Pine Green, University Gold, and University Yellow Dunks by adding extra rope laces and Off-White signature tooling throughout, like the printed text and bright hang tags. Virgil wouldn't touch the Dunk Low silhouette again for a while, but when he did it bigger than anyone else could have done it. The 50 was a collection of 50 Dunk Low colorways, 48 of which shared just a few differences in shades and materials. 2 slightly more unique triple white and triple black pairs were produced in fewer quantities than the rest of the collection. Whether you're a fan or think the Dunk is played out again, the 50 was undeniably an epic release in terms of sheer scale. It was something never done before in sneakers, and only time will tell if we'll see another collection of this size again. Throughout the years, the partnership also birthed a few event-exclusive Air Force Ones, which many consider to be among the rarest Off-White shoes to date. Each Air Force One was released exclusively at in-person event-specific shock drops and select Off-White storefronts. First, the Complex Con 2017 pair and a pair of black Air Force Ones dropped as part of the New York Museum of Modern Art's Is Fashion Modern exhibition in 2018. Then there were these bad boys, triple blue and lemonade editions, each of which coincided with Virgil's touring Figures of Speech exhibit at the MCA Chicago and the ICA Boston exhibitions. Now let's talk about Jordans for a minute. After the 10's take on the classic Air Jordan 1 High Chicago colorway, there was a European exclusive triple white colorway in March of 2018 and a UNC blue version which dropped in June of 2018. This was followed by almost 2 years of zero Off-White Jordans until the release of the Off-White and Air Jordan 5, which released in a black metallic colorway and a sail colorway. The black metallic colorway even landed at the top of several Sneaker of the Year lists. By combining elements of the 10's revealing and ghosting, this Off-White Air Jordan 5 birthed something new. The sneaker featured pre-yellowed outsoles, exposed foam, ankle collars, and most notably, the addition of several translucent windows and straight-up holes in the shoe. Virgil himself encouraged fans to customize the shoes further and cut out these windows if they want. All this customization resulted in a far less bulky Jordan 5 and ushered in a new era of Off-White. Then there was what is likely the most minimalist Off-White collab ever, the elegant Air Jordan 4 Women's Sail colorway. Hey, sometimes less is more. The final Jordan collab on our list was also the last footwear collab that Virgil himself oversaw before his death, the Off-White and Air Jordan 2, which released in a Chicago and a Varsity Royal colorway. Molded after a real pair of 1987 Air Jordan 2s Virgil found in Nike's vaults. The most notable design choice here is the crumbling midsole, patched up with this translucent rubber which brought the neo-vintage trend of the last few years to new extremes. Next, we're going to speed through several silhouettes that Virgil Abloh touched, but didn't really make a splash in the culture like some of the previous models we've talked about. There were several deconstructed takes on lesser-known performance runners, including the Zoom Terra Kiger, Waffle Racer, Vapor Street, and Zoom Tempo Next Percent. There was also the Rubber Dunk, which could be considered as Virgil's only signature silhouette during his tenure at Nike. While based on the Dunk Low, the shoe took design characteristics from the Air Max series in the midsole and the lesser known P6000 on the upper. Before the release, these were marketed as athletic shoes but looked more like a runway piece than anything else. Finally, let's talk about some off-white sneakers that might be just around the corner. Nike hasn't said anything about what they're going to do with off-white since Virgil's passing, but there are some rumors for some sneakers that were actually supposed to release this year. Some of these unreleased shoes include the Canary Yellow Jordan High, a take on the Jordan 4 Bread, some dunks made with graffiti artist Futura, the promo-only Nike Court Flare 2s, and a rumored pair of Air Force 1 mids. In addition to all his work at Nike, Virgil also released countless original silhouettes in-house at Off-White and previewed a ton of Louis Vuitton Air Force 1s on the runway earlier this year. Not to mention his slew of Off-White apparel collections and collaborations with brands like IKEA, Dasani, and Denim Tears. The man probably never stopped working a day in his life. He accomplished so much in his short time here on Earth, and may God rest his soul. Rest in peace, Virgil Abloh. Alright guys, that's going to do it for our first episode of 2022. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Be sure to subscribe, like, stay up to date with this by following us on Instagram. I'll put our handles in the description of this video if you want to say what's up to us. I would love to hear from you. So with that being said guys, I'm out of here. Peace, and I will see you guys next week with a brand new video. Later.